Russellville City Council to order. We'll welcome everybody tonight and thank you for attending and showing an interest in all things City of Russellville. We'll be led in our invocation by Pastor Don Erwin. If you would, please rise, and we'll follow that with a pledge to our flag.
Let us pray. Our Father and our God, we give thanks to you for this meeting of the Russellville City Council, because it's in you that we live and move and breathe and have our being. You give life and breath in all things. We thank you for the institution of government which you've ordained for the common good, to put fear in the heart of evildoers, and to support and encourage those who do good. And now we pray for this exercise in local government and for the members of this city council. We pray for Bill Strait. We pray for Larry Brown. We pray for Freddie Harris, Robert Wiley, Eric Westcott, Mark Tripp, Phyllis Caruth, Phil Sims, Mayor Randy Horton, and Trey Smith and Pat Taylor in their supportive roles. We pray that you would fill them with that wisdom from above, which is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, reasonable, full of mercy and good fruits, unwavering, without hypocrisy, that they may be those who sow the seed whose fruit is righteousness, that is sown in peace by those who make peace. And we pray this in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and be seated.
You got an extra ink pen?
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
I will. Ms. Caruth?
Present.
Mr. Strait? Mr. Sims?
Here.
Ms. Freddie Harris?
Present.
Mr. Wiley?
Here.
Mr. Tripp?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Westcott?
Here.
All present.
All right, we have a quorum. Next item would be the approval of the minutes. Council, have you received your minutes, and are there questions or corrections?
Motion. Second.
Motion to approve was Mr. Westcott?
Correct.
Second was Mr. Wiley. All in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. That'll bring us to Mr. Mckaughan, Finance Report.
Finance report for January 2018. General fund revenues were $1,168,003. That's 7.58% above our projections. Tax receipts were $798,538. Franchise fees and permits were $233,209. Expenditures were $1,449,759. That's 36.04% above the projections. That's due to paying our premiums for vehicles, property. It's all due at the first of the year, so that'll go back down. And we received $281,756 less than expended. Street fund operations receipts were $175,833, 5.8% above projections. Sales tax receipts were $547,146. Road tax was $56,015. Street fund expenditures, $171,049 for January, 9.22% above projections. Sales tax improvements was $113,391 for sidewalks, overlay, and Glenwood. There was no capital expenditures. Economic development revenues were $52,403. $43,280 was new sales tax, $6,473 from farm income. Interest was $2,650. Expenditures were $232,331 for the Dalton King Building and Arkansas Valley Alliance. Capital assets revenues were $150,927. $102,048 was sales tax. $4,163 was an energy refund. $44,036 was a grant refund from the airport, and $680 in interest. Expenditures were $121,227 to City Corp, Building R&M, and the fire station. Is there any questions?
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Back up to Glenwood. What were the expenses for on Glenwood?
That was the design fees that we talked about last month.
How much was that?
Just a second. No, sir. It's 27,000 and some, I don't have the exact number, it's 27,000 some change.
Do we know how much that's going to cost yet for the Glenwood project, for the design and engineering of that street? Do we know that yet?
The projected cost is in the 5-year plan, but I don't have a copy of it.
Has that already been let? Has that bid already been let out?
No.
No? Okay.
Mr. McCoy?
That's all I have.
The 547,000, that's in the street sales tax fund listed above with $11 million, correct? That's where
Yes, that's where that goes, yes, sir.
Ms. Harris, I do have a copy of that invoice for the North Glenwood improvements. The amount was $27,894 and some change.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
McCoy. All right, that'll bring us to the mayor's report. Before I get started, I'm going to allow Kevin Massey from the Polk County Library a minute or two, if you'd step to the microphone.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I just want to let everyone know that the Polk County Library Foundation will be sponsoring a 5K Glow Race on March the 29th. That will be on a Thursday night at 8. Check-in starts at 6 p.m. at the Russellville Junior High. Up until February the 28th, the price to enter the race is $20. After that, the price will be $25. There will also be a 1-mile fun run for the children 12 and under. That starts at 7. That will be free. All proceeds will go to the Polk County Library Programming Fund. We are taking sponsorships from individuals or businesses. This can be monetary or products. For more information, you can contact Tammy Montjoy at the Polk County Library. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer those. Okay.
Any questions for Mr. Massey?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, so it's my turn. To all of the citizens of Russellville, the city council, city clerk, the city attorney, I would like to express to you the state of the city. 2017 was a year for Russellville where many accomplishments were made and which I will reflect on further. But first, let me take this time to thank individuals and essential teams who have worked and continue to work towards the bettering of our great city. First, I want to thank our citizens of Russellville for their support, involvement, and volunteerism for our city. It is great to see so much passion come together for Russellville as a whole. Thank you all for being here this evening and for watching from home. I want to thank our city staff who assist in the daily functions to keep our city running efficiently and are dedicated to their jobs. Thank you for your commitment for serving our community. I'd like to thank our city attorney, Trey Smith, and his staff for working towards providing legal direction for our citizens, for the city council, and for others. In addition, thank you, Judge Bourne and his staff with our district court who work to uphold legal righteousness in our town. I would like to thank our city clerk, Pat Taylor, for coming into this role and working to continue to provide order, and to our former city clerk of 16 years, Kathy Collins, who recently handed over her duties that are significant in our governing. And I'd be remiss if I didn't add on here a welcome and a thank you to Bill Strait, our new member to the council that was just put in place last week. Thank you, Bill, for your willingness to serve. I want to thank our city council and each member who brings insight and has taken on the role to serve their ward and the city as a whole. Thank you to the private and public educational institutions for their overall support. Our community is filled with passion for education and providing a safe learning experience. I want to thank our partnership with the Arkansas Valley Alliance, the Russellville Chamber of Commerce, and Garver LLC for their continued efforts toward community development, growth, and vision for the future. Additionally, thank you to Main Street Russellville and to our A&P for promoting the many wonderful things Russellville has to offer. From our downtown experience to our surrounding waters of recreation, we welcome thousands from near and far. There are countless individuals and partnerships that assist in our community's success. Thank you all for your contributions. As mayor, I continually get to work toward improving our city and moving it forward. It is not just me working to better our place we call home. It is all of the entities that I just mentioned and many, many more. These next highlights I will go into mentioning were accomplished because we strive for the same goals, the same objectives, and the willingness to continue to build a community. Community recreation, with maintaining 23 parks with a total of 792 plus acres, our recreation in parks operates with a total budget of $1,165,296. On June 29th, we held a grand opening of the Russellville Aquatic Center, which brings a place to exercise and be involved in recreational activities. The Aquatic Center conducts year-round swim lessons. 45 family and 11 individual annual memberships have been purchased. 59 family and 638 individual monthly memberships have been purchased. 102 3-month individual and 46 6-month individual passes were purchased, and 6,209 people have purchased one-day passes. The Recreation and Parks Department received $95,000 from the LWCF grant from the Arkansas Department of Parks and Tourism Outdoor Grant Program. That grant will be used to replace the lighting equipment on the upper field at Shiloh Park. The department completed the lighting of 3 ball fields at the Russellville Soccer Complex, along with the Parkway to Bonadilla connector trail that connects West Parkway to the Bonadilla trails. In 2017, we gained the Aquatic Center trail that connects the ATU campus to the Russellville Aquatic Center. An asphalt overlay was completed at the trail at Veterans Park. The low water crossing at MJ Hickey Park was completed, which helps with maintenance of Field 6. And the East B sidewalk that connects City Park to North Knoxville Avenue was completed. For 2018, the Parks and Recreation goals and objectives: continue construction of Veterans Memorial Park on Lakefront Drive, continue to develop our athletic facilities, continue our turf management plan, update our park master plan, work on all of the park playgrounds and facilities to make sure they're as safe as they are attractive, complete the grant to install the new lighting on the upper field at Shiloh, build a 44-foot octagon pavilion at Shiloh Park funded by the A&P Commission. Thank you very much. Install a small pavilion at the Russellville Soccer Complex to be used as a ticket booth. In community safety, one of the goals every day for our city is providing safety. The police department assisted in providing safety and security for 45 permitted special events, which included races, rallies, festivals, with the largest being the Las Vegas Half Marathon. These events do not include security and community relations events, which total an additional 130 times that officers are utilized outside normal patrol operations. The police department also continues to hold annual command inspections showing continuing compliance with all Arkansas law enforcement accreditation programs standards, which include reviews and audits in areas such as bias-based policing, use of force, vehicle pursuits, evidence management, and cash management. During 2017, Russellville Police Department staff logged 14,808 hours of training. These hours ranged in categories: 84 hours in supervisory and leadership, 1,662 hours of tactical training, 463 hours in communication, 599 hours in administration, 26 hours in criminal and legal updates, 770 hours in investigative, 11,136 hours in field training in the academy, and 68 hours assisting other agencies at our firing range. With our police department, our fire department provides essential duties for the community. Russellville Fire Department adopted a motto of exceptional service, then put that into action on a daily basis. Crews responded to 2,305 calls for service, issued 9 lifesaver awards, strengthened relationships with surrounding departments by expanding mutual aid agreements, and expanded fire prevention and public education activities. Thanks to the City Council, the department was able to acquire and put into service a 109-foot ladder truck, Ladder 1, thereby enhancing firefighting and rescue capabilities. The department has developed a partnership with the Colorado Springs Fire Department to gain firsthand knowledge and experience in new ways of doing things relating to operations, training, and culture. These efforts paid off for the citizens and especially property owners in a big way. Russellville achieved an improved ISO rating going from a Class 3 to a Class 2. This results in insurance premium savings citywide from $300,000 to as much as $1 million annually. It improves our quality of life, improves recruitment of industry, and it places Russellville Fire Department in the top 3% nationwide. In a few weeks, the move to the new Central Fire Station will take place, and that will only help to further the department's efforts to provide exceptional service. At the Russellville Animal Shelter, employees continued their efforts dealing with lost and abandoned dogs and cats, dealing with wildlife issues, managing another safe and successful urban deer hunt, and recycling of materials, including yard waste. Two significant statistics to be noted are that approximately 1,000 cubic yards more yard waste has been processed this year than in the typical year, the big storms last spring. But the one that I think I'm most proud of, the euthanasia rates for injured and sick animals continued to drop. In 2017, the euthanasia rate for dogs was 16% and cats was 24%. These numbers are enviably low for a facility that does not discriminate on which animals they're willing to accept based on probable survivability of a potential intake. Code enforcement opened a total of 724 cases in 2017. 606 have already been closed. Community development collected over $119,000 in building fees, including the newly approved fees for inspection of sprinkler systems when they're required, a demolition permit, and increasing the minimum fee for a building permit to $30. Our maintenance staff in that department has also gone above and beyond to save the city money in various capacities, mostly air conditioning. Their efforts are greatly appreciated and go unnoticed. The IT department continued to keep our systems up to date in both hardware and software. They continue to manage the migration to the Google platform for email, file sharing, calendars, and other daily activities while decommissioning our old Exchange service. They continue to vet potential new options for our specialized software. Their long-term goals include mapping out the replacement of our current 7-year-old infrastructure with the goal of replacement in 2019. Capital cost of the system replacement is expected to be around $100,000, and the Finance Committee will be asked soon to start making decisions on how to fund that necessary upgrade. Russellville Airport had another strong year for operations, but Department Head Keith Frasier is your department report this month, so I'm going to leave it up to him to fill you in on that. At the regular City Council meeting in January, the City Council passed an ordinance creating special zoning for the El Paso connection to Arkansas Tech. This change prepares the way for the long-term redevelopment to support the future growth of the university while simultaneously encouraging new offerings of mixed uses for the enjoyment of our entire community. Multiple private entities are currently developing plans for apartment complexes, retail, and commercial development. James Walden of Garver and his crew are finalizing the update on our comprehensive plan to guide our future development. This plan should be submitted to the council for your consideration sometime this spring. For many years, Betsy McGuire, the Main Street Board of Directors members, the Downtown Master Plan Committee, and Russellville Historic District, and many partners have planned and labored to encourage the redevelopment of our historic downtown. Recent successes in that area have to be very gratifying to all who have contributed to that effort. Last month at the Winter Conference of the Arkansas Municipal League, 2 of those redevelopments, Dog Ear Books and the Old Bank Sports Grill, were recognized with awards from Main Street, Arkansas. Congratulations to Betsy and all of her supporters over the years. Those awards are proof that your vision and dedication has not been wasted. It's said that the imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. It was a pleasure today to visit with Betsy and a contingent group from Hope, Arkansas that came up here to learn how they did, what they did, so that they can take it back to Hope and hopefully copy what we're doing in Russellville. That's a pretty nice compliment, and my congratulations to Betsy. As much as I'd like to, I'm going to refrain from going on any more about that because Betsy will come see you next month, kind of a parting shot. As you all know, she'll be retiring in April, and I hope we can replace her with somebody that dedicated in that committee. This snapshot barely scratches the surface of all the positive things going on in our hometown. Over the next few months, we'll continue to address and recognize these and other great efforts by our citizens. For now, to all of those who make a contribution to our city government, our operations workers, commissioners, committee members, and volunteers, we say thank you and please keep up the good work. This was all compiled from sheet after sheet of data sent in by our department heads. We'll post the whole thing on our website and give you access if you want to dig into the numbers that much. Council, for now, that'll be my state of the city.
Mayor, what do we want to do about the liaison that George had? To give them all the bill or what? What do you want to do with those?
I think that would be a council decision. If somebody wants to trade, they can, or we can leave it set to the way it was.
I'd make a motion we leave them the way they were.
Anybody else got input on that?
That was already, you'd already decided that at the meeting when we were going to be talking about the new council person. We had already discussed the liaison positions and chose to not re-choose those, chose to leave those the way they are.
I guess that's how we'll leave it. All right, our department head report, as mentioned earlier, is Keith Frasier at the airport. Mr. Frasier, if you're feeling well enough. Mr. Frazier's been battling the flu. I'm hurt for this week, so see what happens.
Let's see, I do what, shift F5? Yeah. All right, here we go. Do it? Down arrow? Now? Nope, not ready to go there yet. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. First and foremost, I want to take just a minute to say thank you for letting me be the director of the airport. I would be lying if I told you that I'm like a kid going to the candy store every day I go to work. I really do enjoy it. 2017, very good year for us. First and foremost, our landings equaled our takeoff, so we're in good shape there. We did have 5,854 operations for 2017, which is about what we had in 2016. So our traffic is maintaining. I would like to see that increase, and hopefully with some of the things that we've got on tab for the future, we'll see that. On fuel cells, we sold a total of 113,130 gallons of fuel, which is a 3.64% increase over 2016. So we're still making some strides there. I expected to see a plateau at some point in time with survival flight, and we're seeing that, but that is by no means a mark that I'm satisfied with. Our self-sufficiency for 2017 was 71.21%. My goal, again, for this year is to get to 80%. We were pretty much on track to do that. We had some maintenance issues that we had to deal with that kept us short of our goal, but that is still a goal for me, and that's one that I know we can attain. For some of the neat stuff that went on, we had several community events. In the summertime, we had a airport open house for the public that was very well attended. We had helicopter rides, and I think I ended up cooking somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 brats and hot dogs. So, you know, those kind of events we're going to continue. We've got some things that the Airport Commission and I are working on to draw the community out there, and also hopefully get some people, especially youth, interested in flying. It's a nationwide trend right now. We don't have enough youth to cover the pilots that are going to be exiting the service in the next few years. So we're trying to do everything we can to encourage young people to get involved in aviation. Some of the things that we have planned for the community, trying to get too far ahead of myself, but it will involve airplanes, cars, motorcycles, and music, and of course food. So be looking for that as we get it put together. But you know, one of the events that I'm most proud of, we did a charity event, fundraiser for the victims of Hurricane Harvey back in October. And the timing, unfortunately, was Tech's homecoming weekend and some other things that were going on, plus the threat of weather didn't help us a whole lot, but we still managed to cover all of our costs and raise $1,500 for that event. I recently met with the A&P Commission, and we got a $500 grant for an event that will be held towards Christmas time, and if everything works out all right, we'll have a special visitor from the north for the kids on that one. So looking forward to doing that. One of the big highlights of our year last year, there is the new Jet A truck that y'all bought for us last year. That has been such a valuable addition for us. It replaced a 30-year-old truck. This truck is, well, we refurbished, the tank came off the old truck, but we replaced all the pneumatic stuff that was on there that gave us fit for years. So the truck is pretty much state of the art. And for $15 million, we can also purchase the jet that goes with it. So, just something for y'all to think about. But, you know, like I say, I can't thank you enough for the support you gave us last year, and looking forward to continued support. Does everybody have a copy of the 5-year capital improvement plan? Okay. We'll go over that. That kind of, we're required to submit that to the FAA Every year they give us a $150,000 entitlement. So starting in fiscal year 2019, you see the entitlement available is $427,000. That is banking our 2018 funds and our 2019 funds. We have 127,000 2017 entitlement balance that expires in fiscal year 20, as you see there on the top of the page. I visited with the FAA today, and on their recommendation, we're going to move the design-only runway rehab and medium intensity runway lighting project from 2020 to 2019. And the reason for that is we have 33,000 of that 27,000 2017 money that will actually expire in 2019. So instead of losing that 33,000, we'll put it with the 94,000 of 2017 money and go ahead and do the project in 2019. It doesn't really affect anything in the grant. It's just we're moving things up a line. So in 2020, there again, that design-only rehab, that estimated cost will move up to 2019, of which we'll have a $12,000 match. As with all of our AIP grants that we get from the FAA, that's at no cost to the city. We do have to front the money, but we get every bit of that back. And so we're looking at that, and I will give you guys an updated capital improvement plan when we resubmit this in the fall. Then in 2021, we will do the runway rehab and install the medium intensity runway lighting. The runway rehab is an overlay. The last time that runway was overlaid was in 2005. So we're looking basically 16 years that pavement's been on the ground. So based on the number of operations over a 15-year period, you're looking at well over 100,000 takeoff and landings that pavement's had to endure. Now, we did do a seal coat on it in 2013, but you know, we're kind of stretching the limit of that pavement by going to 2021. But with the runway overlay, the new overlay, that will increase our runway strength. That will also allow us to land a little bit heavier aircraft there. The medium intensity runway lighting, this will be LED lighting, which we will see a significant savings on our electric bill. And we will do both projects at the same time, so we only have to close the runway once. So that's kind of what's on tap for up to 2021. Then in 2022 and 2023, we'll be banking funds again to start our taxiway G rehab. That taxiway is one of our oldest taxiways, and it's in probably the worst shape, a lot of alligatoring. So when we do that, we'll probably do a regrind on the asphalt that's there, but we're also going to have to dig down and redo the substrate on that. So that's kind of what, from the FAA standpoint, that's what we've got on tap for our capital improvement plan for the next 5 years. One of the things, too, that I didn't mention, last year we got to participate with local, state, and federal law enforcement for a task force event that they conducted. that we actually served as the command center. We had over 200 law enforcement officers at the airport, and they conducted their sweep. They're very successful, and we got to participate in that, and hopefully any future events they have of that nature, they'll consider us to be a command center again. We're very honored and to be able to serve in that capacity for law enforcement. I'd also, at this point, like to mention our airport commission. We have an excellent airport commission. Dwight Talbert is the chairman. Tommy Littleton, Paul Horning, Leslie Taft, Bill West, Andy Berkemeyer, Kevin Burnham. We are like-minded. We have the best interest of the airport, serving the pilots and serving this community at our core. We don't always agree, but we always come to a resolution. Their support has meant everything to me. I know that if I run things by them and they back me, I know I'm on the right track. These guys are great. They're involved in what's going on at the airport. They care about the airport. They care about this community. So I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge them at this point. Also, our consulting engineer, Bob Chapman, he keeps me on the right path. He's been our consulting engineer for several years, and again, he always has our best interest at heart. Lastly, again, I appreciate every one of you guys and for letting me have fun. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, the survival flight there.
Yeah.
What's the biggest percentage of increased income that you have?
In our Jet A sales, definitely. The last 6 months, actually, been tracking in our avgas sales, which I would kind of think would fall off, has really been holding its own. So I'm really thrilled about that. Along with Survival Flight, I did mention that we purchased a fuel trailer specifically for the purpose of letting Survival Flight self-fuel after hours. So that cuts down our after-hour call-outs. And I hadn't been on after-hour call-out, yeah, probably since sometime in December for Survival Flight. Now, I did make the agreement with them when the temperature gets, below 24, 25 degrees to go ahead and call us, because we can get that helicopter back in service a lot quicker at those critical temperatures than they can fueling off the fuel trailer. So they've been a tremendous support for the airport as well as this community, and we're tickled to have them. Certainly are. Yes, sir.
Mr. Frasier, if I understand you correctly, you said the self-sufficiency rate for 2017 was 80%. Was that right?
No, that was my goal.
Your goal.
We were at a little over 71%, which is still above where we were in 2016. We're going the right direction, but I want us to get to 80%.
Well, that was part two of my question. How does that 71% compare with, say, the last 5 years? You notice a trend of being more self-sufficient, self-supporting rather than self-sufficient?
We're going the right direction. When I first came on in 2015, our self-sufficiency was right around 60%, which equated to about $108,000 cost to the city. Last year we were at $69,000. So, our goal, as required by the FAA, and it's a personal goal of mine, is for us to be self-sufficient, and we will get there.
Okay. And of these capital improvement projects that you've outlined here, the bulk of this money or the entire money is going to come from the entitlement and matching grants? Or do
Well-
you foresee a certain portion of this having to come from the taxpayers?
Well, we will have to front the entire cost on that. But we will be 100% reimbursed. Of the entitlement in 2021, you'll see under additional AIP, $840,083. This is discretionary fund that has already been set aside by the FAA for this project. So, you know, they're actually going to be kicking in the biggest part of it. You know, and there again, we do have to put up the money up front. But as soon as the project starts, then we start sending in the pay request. Now, the last 10% of those funds, we have to hold until the project's complete. And once that project is complete, then we'll get that 10% back from the state.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Frasier. That'll bring us to committee reports. The Finance Committee. Chairman Brown, do you have any business for us?
Yes, sir. First of all, I'll bring up the Finance Committee did on February 6th for agenda to go over some things here to pass on to the council. The first thing I'd like to bring up is there was an appropriation for $107.87. This is number one there for Hotel Fort Smith travel training. I'd like to take that in motion to the council to approve.
Council, you heard the committee's motion on item 1. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's approved, Chairman.
Number 2, appropriation for the fire department, which is, it was $105,000, now $102,825. Is that right?
102,829.75.
$829. And that is for the expenditure of the 4 new vehicles that they needed. I make that as a motion. Put that to the council.
Council, you heard the committee's motion. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item 2 is approved, Mr. Chairman.
Appropriation, police department, expenditure for 3 new vehicles in the amount of $76,816.65. I make that as a motion to the council to vote.
Council, you heard the committee's motion. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item 3 is approved.
Okay, and I have had 2 appropriations here, number 4 and number 5 on this agenda sheet. That was fire contingency equipment for the new firehouse, $15,000. The fire insurance for the new firehouse equipment, $20,000. I'd like to put those together and combine those. Total of $35,000, and put that as a motion to the council for vote.
All right, Council, you heard the chair's motion. It's for items 4 and 5. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? 4 and 5 are approved.
Combine items 6 and 7. One is appropriation for the Boys and Girls Club. The other is expenditure for Main Street, Russellville. It's a yearly thing. And the total is $95,000. I'll put that to council for a vote. Make a motion.
Council, you heard the committee's motion on 6 and 7. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? 6 and 7 are approved.
I'd like to combine 8 and 9. The capital building funds asphalt driveway for the animal shelter. We had already discussed this last week, and replacing windows at the animal shelter. One is $14,517. That's for the asphalt. Another $3,534.58. Make that a motion to the council for vote.
Council, you heard the committee's motion on 8 and 9. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? 8 and 9 are approved.
10, is appropriation for police departments and insurance pass-through. I make that a motion to the council, $357.66.
Council, you heard the committee's motion on 10. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 10 is approved.
Number 11, resolution allowing the closing of the Oakland Cemetery Charles Schwab account, opening and certify a deposit account with the local bank. That's requested by the cemetery board, by the way. I put that in motion to the council for a vote.
Council, you heard the committee's motion. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 11 is
Okay, new business. 1, appropriation for administration for travel training. This is for Miss Ruth there, when we went to Fort Smith, and the amount of $175. I put that in motion to the council.
Council, you heard the motion. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item 1 is approved.
Item 2, this is an expense for travel training for Ms. Taylor in the amount of $83.76, and I put that to the, yes, Gary.
This is for Ms. Vaughn.
Oh, Ms.
This
Vaughn.
This is for our FIRA training
Okay.
in Maumelle.
Thank you.
Now, Ms. Taylor is also going to be doing training in March. Will that come back?
I have to come back. I didn't know anything about it. Nobody's turned
Remember the
anything
date on
into
it?
me.
Do you have a date?
It's in my phone. I think it's the 12th. I'm not sure.
Nobody's turned anything into me, so I couldn't appropriate it.
I'm sorry.
I hadn't had anything turned into me.
Do you have an amount on that?
What's the
That
date?
would be a hotel because
If it's March the 12th, we'll be okay. We can get it
We'll
on.
work on that and get back to you on it. Look,
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize. Council, you heard the motion on item 2. Any discussion? In favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 2 is approved.
Okay, item 3, Department of Public Works, they're requesting new vinyl cover for the sign, street markers, in the amount of $6,372.45. I put that to the council for vote.
Okay, council, you heard the motion. Is there any discussion?
Oh, where's that money coming from?
It's coming out of their rollover in street department.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 3 is approved.
Item 4, appropriation capital fund, new fire station. This here is a refund on electric bill that we had paid, and we received the money back in the amount of $4162.77. Is that correct?
Yes. This actually came from the contractor back to us. He was supposed to be paying the bills, and we had paid a couple of them.
So this is being put back into the capital fund?
That's correct.
Okay,
Okay, motion?
that's a motion. All right, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4 is approved.
5, this is the change from what it was, and this is from the police department on their boiler controls. That was $15,000. Now this is for what the work that we're doing. It's $3166.88. Is that correct, Jerry?
That's correct.
Okay, and then we're going to talk about the boiler stuff later on the controls.
That's correct.
All right. I put that in form of motion to the council for vote.
Council, you heard the committee's motion. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 5 is approved.
Item 6, Arkansas Valley Alliance monthly billing request, $5,224.66. I put that to council for vote.
Council, you heard the committee's motion. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 6 is approved.
Item 7, a resolution for the mayor and city clerk to sign the necessary documents and all necessary paperwork for exchange of public works buildings and ATU property. I put that to the council for voting and discussion here.
Okay. I assume we're going to have some discussion.
Yes.
Okay, council, you heard the motion. Mr. Westcott, is that an indication you want to go first?
Well, I don't care to go first.
Oh, come on.
Although I am in favor of the move, I think that our timing might be a little bit off. There's some things that need to be done to make that ready for us to move in our Public Works Department. For instance, on the northwest corner, if you remember on the west side of the building where those 3 bays are, the northwest corner, that one bay is going to need to be filled in to take care of the drainage work, and so that they have access into that part of the building. We don't have any, as far as I know, we don't have any numbers on what that's going to cost, and any other modifications that they're going to need before they can move in and actually go to work. I would prefer to see some numbers on what that's going to cost us before we absolutely make the decision to go forward with that.
Mayor, I'm not in favor of waiting on this project. This thing, we've been talking about this for about 6 to 8 months, and I'm in favor of us going ahead and voting on it tonight and approving it. And then Tech has told us that I've got word from Tech that they'll give us plenty of time to move in, and we got the money in Public Works to remodel this building after we purchase it, or trade with Arkansas Tech.
Okay. Any other comments or discussion?
Mayor.
Well, I agree with Mr. Westcott. I'd like to know how much the building is going to cost us, just so we know. I think all of us are in agreement that we ultimately will want to work it out a deal with Tech. But I think for the taxpayer's point of view, I would like to be open and say, we're swapping for this amount, but it's going to cost us this amount, so it's really going to cost you that amount. And I think that would be better if we had that, and how long can it take us to get such at least a guess as to what it's going to cost us?
Mr.
Trick.
Wiley, I agree, we have been talking about this for several months, but I think for the last 2, 3, maybe 4 months, we've been waiting on the department to go get us these numbers, which we still don't have.
didn't get no numbers.
Exactly.
We have people in the audience.
Yeah, we got a woman from Arkansas Tech back there.
You want to add anything, Ms. Hinkle?
She didn't hear you. She did. Oh.
Hello, I'm Bernadette Dubois, I'm the Vice President of Administration and Finance at Arkansas Tech. We are excited about the possibility of being now in the Public Works building. We do have a 16th Street warehouse. I do have the appraisals with me. So as far as the money, I described that. It will take some time on our end as well. Our Director of Administrative Services is here, Fred Clayton. We've discussed it. There will be some movement that we would need to make in coordination with the city. But I do think that it's a doable plan. The appraisals are actually about $5,000 difference, so it is a swap that we even dollars in my opinion. So,
So what do you estimate the time that if we trade and vote to trade, how much time do you think we've got to rehab our new building? 3 months, 6 months?
we will work with
Okay, that's
Will
what I
you be
want.
more prepared next month to come up and give us some numbers and get that so we can have some vocalization between us?
Sure.
Okay, and then we could revisit this thing and get numbers out to the council. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, the way I understand this, we're just approving the exchange.
Yeah.
It needs to happen to get this thing going.
If I remember where we were at in the process, the university asked us to make an offer to sell property. In this case, it would be an offer to trade property. And so I think that's what they're asking for.
So this is really just the first step, and then if we do need, and we are going to have to do some remodeling of that facility, especially where we need to drive through from the freight docks and things. Mr. Mckaughan, what sources of revenue do we already have existing for the remodel of that property?
The street fund has $2,900,000 in reserve that can be used for remodeling or redoing the parking lot, like the dock, the deck, or whatever they're talking about.
So we got over $2 million, and we're looking at a $595,000 property. That would be pretty excessive if we spent all that on the
I
square
would think
footage. wouldn't
so. I don't think that building needs much remodeling.
I don't think we've got an issue here. I think we need to go ahead and proceed with this.
I believe we need to vote one way or the other, though.
I do know that there's some area out there that needs asphalt, and there's I guess a dock situation that we wouldn't want.
It's a freight dock that we
Yes,
need to
freight
put where
dock.
we can drive in straight. Yeah.
So if I understand this correctly, if I understand help me to understand here, reading this resolution, it says that if we pass it tonight, it's going to go into effect this 15th day of October 2018. Go into effect. So it's not that we do or do not have the money to do things that need to be done, but similar to what we faced last month, we're expected to make a decision of this nature when we don't know the numbers ahead of time. When we, just by waiting a little bit, we'll have the numbers to go with. Is that correct?
That's what I'd like to see.
Is there something critical on the end of Arkansas Tech that we approve this tonight versus our next council meeting? Is there something critical on your end?
You were dealing with a deadline on your MOF of December, but you worked that out. Is that correct? Or we're working it?
Still where?
Mayor, may I ask a question? And at that time, you just need to take ownership of it. So if we needed to occupy it another month or 3, once you take ownership of it by that deadline, that would be sufficient?
Yes.
Okay.
It's an agreement that would extend the time on our time to get the
Mr. Mayor, if I may, and I don't mean to put him on the spot, and if he wants to say he doesn't want to reply, that's fine. But we have Morgan Barrett here who toured the building with us the other day. And Mr. Barrett, if you're willing to answer a question, in your opinion, professional opinion, would it, what kind of time frame or what kind of renovations do you see that building requiring?
You know, from my experience and just knowing the operations that need to take place in that facility, I mean, I think you're talking, once you had some plans drawn up, the work is fairly simple, 30 to 45 days, I think, from beginning to end as far as a remodel. The paving of the parking lot, you know, that's can happen quickly. So 30 to 45 days as far as interior remodel to facilitate the needs of the sign shop and the break rooms and drafting offices and other offices that are needed.
Good deal. Thank you.
So if we got a dollar amount here in the next month, then we could come back next month and say, okay, and we could still be out of there by the spring, April, May?
That's good.
Mayor, may I ask Mr. Mckaughan another question? Mr. Mckaughan, you referenced a fund with $2 million in it. In a meeting last week, the agenda meeting, I tried to make sure you and Mr. Smith were talking about the same accounts.
That's correct.
He referenced account and said we could spend money for a parking lot, but not for a building remodel.
We cannot build a building.
Mr. Smith, do you care to elaborate? I'm just trying to make sure I'm on the same page because I'm hearing 2 different stories.
The only ones I looked at were the street aid fund and the municipal aid fund, and the municipal aid I thought only did parking lots. I have not run across anything about remodeling. Unless there's another fund or funds that are going in there that I'm not aware of.
We've used it for remodeling when we did this building over here, when we painted it, when we put in.
So would it be necessary and be prudent to maybe research that a little bit further before we, before we finalize everything, just to know if it's going to cost us $50,000 or $250,000 and where exactly that money is going to come from?
I think we should. If you're looking at me, I don't know who you're looking at, but if you're looking at me,
That's just an open statement
and just
question.
because we have $2 million in the
Right.
bank account doesn't mean, I don't know how the money got there or how long it will last, but I hate to see us just go
I'm not-
crazy and just spend it.
I'm not opposed to this move.
I'm not either.
But I think we do need to know what it's going to cost us.
I don't see the rush this
and
month.
how, and where we're going to pay for it. I think those are two prudent things for a taxpayer to know.
Yeah.
Okay? Guess we're ready to vote? I don't know.
Okay, so is there any other?
So
Mr.
my
West-
motion is to table this until next month.
Mayor, I'm looking at, we could vote on the thing, but I would feel better myself personally if come back with the numbers next month and let's sit there and let's make a deal. You don't have to do it. Just do what we need to do to get things done. But we're not there right now. All right? I think we could be next month if we start working together.
I think you just canceled that.
All right?
Committee's motion to.
Motion to table to next month.
I'll second that if it needs a second.
Okay. So we've got a motion from the committee to adopt, but the motion to table would supersede that. Is that correct?
Well, it'll affect the main motion and
Okay.
basically dispose of it.
So we have,
He changed his motion.
you changed your
I'm
motion
changing the motion.
to?
I want to table it till next month, bring it back with the numbers so we can sit here and vote on it at that time.
Okay. Can we do that with a committee motion?
Mr. Mayor, that came out of committee as such. I don't think it can be changed.
Parliamentarian?
Go ahead and do a motion to table and postpone.
Okay, just try to keep it clean. Let's enter Mr. Westcott's motion to table until next month. We would need a second on that. Mr. Tripp, all in favor of the motion to table, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
Sounds like 6-2. Does that sound right to everybody? All right, that'll be tabled till next month. Sinkle, thank you. And if you can, would you hang around just for a little bit? I think you may be pertinent to a discussion later on. Okay, Mr. Chairman, what else have you got?
That's it? Oh, no, I've got the convention center, excuse me, no,
Okay,
the railroad thing's been tabled, discussion regarding the convention center and the best way to proceed.
okay. Council, I got an email yesterday finally from the second group that has expressed interest. You've got a letter in here from them. You've got a letter in here from the Macon group, M-A-K-A-N. Both of these are just introducing you to their companies and their experience. And you'll also have a quote from the C.H. Johnson Company on updating our feasibility study. I've had two different bankers tell me that when it comes lending time that the lenders would want an update to the study, but one of them recommended that we don't do that until we kind of get a direction. So basically, I'm throwing this out there just to get it in your hands and let you start thinking about it. And
Do you have a cost there?
for the update,
Yes, for the feasibility.
18,500. We've discussed with the Alliance maybe partnering on that, but at this time, I just thought we'd get it in your hands, and then maybe next month, let's decide how we want to move, if we want to move.
Yeah, check again with the Alliance, see exactly where we're at.
That sounds okay to everybody?
We come back and revisit it.
Just to let y'all have this now, because you just got the information. Let's bring it back next month, and maybe if you guys want to think about it and let me know, we could try to have the partners come in for you all to interview them, or just, let's get some ideas of how to get this thing off of High Center.
What is the life of the feasibility study? Is it, longer than 90 days or a year? Or, I know the old ones are 8 or 10 years old. So
I think normally it would be several years. The big thing with ours is the change in room inventory since the study. The study was completed in December of 13. And so it's 5 years, and there's been quite a bit of change, and they just want to make sure that it's still going to work.
Got it.
So when this one opens up, it will be 3 new hotels.
Yeah. We had them strike out, the original study had a lot of studies of other places and how their centers are working and all of that. I didn't think we needed that updated, and so the update that we're asking for is basically our average occupancy rates based on the number of hotel rooms now.
And would you do me a favor?
Sure.
Or I'll help you out. And update the general public on the fact that if we were to have a convention center, that the status of whether or not Fort Smith has made the headlines again on the cost of the city, and people panic to think that Russellville is going to get themselves in that same bind. Would you explain to the public that, from my point of view, we have no liability, whether it's a success or failure?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And I love Fort Smith. We've talked about this, and I hate to use them as a bad example, but they built a very large convention center. And so there's a cost with that. And to cover that cost, you have to recruit events of a certain number of people. So it puts you in competition with much bigger cities. So one of our goals, one reason for this feasibility study is how many square feet can we afford can the developer afford to support? But to your point, the city has always maintained that we would put in the land, which has been bought, paid for, and the phase 1 environmental work done, and then that tax generated a couple of $1 million more than was needed, and that has been and is still in a separate account in the bank. As a matter of fact, it's grown to, Jerry, 2.47 million now.
I call it 2.5.
$2,471,119.
Yeah, and so that has to be spent on the project in some fashion. But now how both of the deals we've tried to do before, that amount of money helps them in different ways. And so but that's it for the city's contribution, and we've made it clear, and these two potential candidates understand two things. That's it for the city's involvement. We're not going to share in profits or losses. And the other thing they understand is that I think the final straw with the previous developer was he could not bond the project. They both understand that this will have to be bonded, and they both assure us that they will be able to acquire bonding. And so you're correct. The city will not be liable for losses on the convention center. And as far as I've ever been able to find, no other city has done that.
Mayor, can we come back to the building? Who's gonna do the study for us to see what it's gonna cost us to do the work?
Well, if you want me to, I'll get Junior and Kenneth and those guys, and we need to find out from them exactly what they want changed, and then we'll price it out. And
can you get started on that tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
My
calendar is open.
You need a vote?
My calendar's open except for breakfast with the sheriff at 7 o'clock. If any of y'all are down around Tech, you might stop in and take advantage of his hospitality. We'll get started on it. The biggest thing was somebody that was out there, 2 garage doors on the north end.
Yeah.
And so let's say 3,000 apiece, 4,000 apiece. There would need to be big doors, and then the site work to fill in that ditch and put a ramp inside. And so we'll get them started on that, and should be able to have numbers for you easily by the next agenda and finance meeting. Did you have anything else, Mr. Chairman?
No. That's it.
Okay. Chair Harris, do you have anything from personnel?
Boy, after all this, I don't think so.
Okay.
I do. Mr. Tripp, would you remind me what it is, that job description that I don't have?
Yes.
Okay. We've made another step in the description for the Parks and Recreation job director. And do we have that before us tonight?
No. Don't
Okay, so we
Is it
will,
finished?
I don't
we
see
will,
it.
well, it's for you guys to, I think we're finished. The Personnel Committee is finished. My memory's coming back to me.
I don't see it on
And so we'll get you a copy of that, and then we can review that at the next meeting, I guess, and move forward with it unless we have a special call meeting.
Okay then, thank
Was there
you.
anything else, Mr. Tripp?
All right, and that should bring us to old business. We did the Public Works item 1 already. I think we've covered that. I think it's on here in a couple of spots.
You took care of
The
it.
Ware Road update, we talked about, there's no update yet except to kind of just a forward acknowledgement that they're wanting to
Took care of
expand
that,
the scope of work. We've done the convention center, and so now that brings us down to item 4, the second reading of the vaping ordinance.
Motion to suspend the rules and read by title only with a short explanation.
Okay, do you want to suspend on just the second
Just-
reading?
just-
or
yeah, just the second one.
Okay. All right, so the motion is to suspend the reading requirement on the second reading only. Read by title only and a short explanation. But I would need a second to do that.
What are we doing?
I'll
Second.
second it,
On the-
let's
Oh,
go.
okay.
We're on the
Okay,
second
go ahead.
reading on the vape.
Oh, the vape.
Okay.
Got it, got it.
So-
Okay.
Mr. Wiley, did you second that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so
Nobody
we're
else
voting
voted
on the
there.
motion to suspend for the second reading only, read by title only with a short explanation. So all in favor of the motion to suspend, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Smith?
Me neither. Do you have it, Mr. Smith? If you don't, I'll
He's
make a
looking
motion.
through his digital
We table
file. So the reading, does anybody have a paper copy or?
I don't in front of me.
Bear with us.
Can we make a motion to table it?
Well, it kind of says you can't do vape anywhere you can't smoke.
I got it from last month.
Yeah, Trey, we've got it now.
An ordinance prohibiting smoking and the use of tobacco products. I'll make sure that's. An ordinance amending ordinance number 1847 by defining electronic smoking devices and adding them to the definition of tobacco products within ordinance number 1847, which prohibits the use of tobacco products in city buildings, offices, and parks, recreational facilities, and vehicles, and within 50 feet of said city buildings, offices, parks, and recreational facilities, and for other purposes. This ordinance, if passed, would amend ordinance number 1847, section 4, by adding the following definition and defining what is would be termed electronic smoking devices, and would also amend the tobacco products definition to also include electronic smoking device.
All right, that is the second reading. We'll have the third reading next month. That brings us to old business 5, zoning code amendment. Is this the Casey's?
Is that the same thing as that new business board?
I think it's two separate ones. I think item 5 is the special use There's a special
permit.
use permit for,
There's a special use permit
Casey's?
for Casey's, which is new business 3.
okay, that's new
It's
There's
the same
business.
as
also
new
a
business
special
3.
business permit that was passed by special planning commission, which is for the wholesale suppliers,
Okay, and I was thinking that was number 4.
and that's the one two I know of.
Okay. All right. I think that's the, do you know of any others, Mr. Walden?
It's just those two.
Think, okay, so we'll cover this in new business.
Yes.
Item 6, change in fees for Oakland Cemetery.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Westcott.
still no update from last month on the legality of that, and until we know for certain, I would like to table this again until next month.
All right. We got a motion to table old business 6. Do I hear a second? We're waiting on information from the state. Second, Mr. Brown. All in favor of the table, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Old business 6 is tabled till March. New business 1, proposed drainage projects. Where to start?
Is that Morgan?
Mr. Barrett, you've been waiting patiently. Would you give us an update on the deal we talked about?
Yeah, that's it.
Is this it?
That's it.
Okay. What's going on? All right, I'm gonna have a couple of video presentations for you to look at once I get up there. All right, Mayor asked me to take a look at a drainage concern in the Seattle and Tulsa area. What you're seeing is a lot of lines, and I'll try to point them out on what's what on here. Currently, the city's undertaking a drainage project here on Vancouver, and it terminates with a culvert at this point that collects water from an open ditch. That drainage basin, that water actually begins its collection all the way over here on the east end, and that cul-de-sac is the top of that drainage basin. That drainage basin is about 6 acres. The first inlet is about right there. If this worked a little faster, I'd zoom in and go into more detail, but I'm gonna try to keep just a summary going of what's happening. So that 6 acres accumulates enough water to fill about a 24-inch pipe at 1%. And that's the first point of collection for it. So as it's coming down, there's a tremendous amount of water that's trying to get into a drop inlet at that location. With a 3 to 4 foot drop inlet opening, it has a difficult time collecting all that water. So it's, and that area there is in a sump. It's basically a bowl that fills up with water until it has a spot to overflow and get out. The overflow path is due west down these lot lines that is crisscrossed with fences, wood fences, and there is a grade inlet at this location. Water, and I'll show you in a simulation here in a second what's going on there. The water is continues underground to this point and is piped again underground to here and comes across to about right there where it's dumped into an open ditch. Down here at this point, there's a lot of water that's being collected, and the pipes aren't sufficient, even for the 10-year storm. So we collected, see if I can get this working. So we went out and we collected some data on the pipe sizes, pipe slopes, the drainage basins, the basin slopes, the length of flow, and put them into a software package to do some hydraulic modeling. All right, so like I described, up at the top of the basin, to the furthest right of that screen would be that first inlet that's trying to collect that 6 acres. The second inlet is the great inlet that's at the back of the yards. All the way down to the left side of the screen is where the outfall of that pipe, of that drainage system. And what I'm going to play, it's about a 30-second simulation of a 10-year storm event, which the 10-year storm event is the minimum. That's what the subdivisions are supposed to be designed for an underground system to handle. The simulation, every second is about a minute, so this is about a 30-minute time period for a 10-year storm event. The peak takes place at about 21 minutes or 21 seconds in this video. And what you'll see, that's the pipes, and you'll see them actually filling up with water. Once they're full, they're under pressure flow. And what I don't show in this simulation is overtopping. This is a 2D analysis where we're not seeing a 3-dimensional inundation. So I'll just let that run. And you can see as the storm event increases in intensity and accumulates over time, the flow increases. And you can already see that second pipe is above capacity. And there at the bottom, it's already overtopped and creating problems at the far downstream end. Water can't get in that last pipe, and it's overtopping and running through the yards. Similarly at the top, you can't see it, but water just is not able to get in that top inlet just because of the geometry of it. So that was a 10-year event. 25-year event, we're going to have the same results, except it's going to happen faster, and there's going to be more water, more overland flow. Again, this is a 2D analysis, and I'm not showing a 3D. I could have done a 3D analysis. It would have just taken a lot more time. And you can see that those pipes are beyond capacity, as they should be for a 25-year event. You know, because the subdivisions are only designed for a 10-year, but I just wanted to throw that simulation in there. I did not do actually did, but I didn't bring a video of the 100-year because it's well above capacity. So with that in mind, we looked at solutions. And basically, I took the same simulation, increased some pipe sizes, and this is a 25-year design with some different pipe sizes at the existing slopes. As you're running through, we are right about at the peak flow right there. So you can see it's in this storm event, 25-year storm event, it is captured by these proposed improvements. It seems like it may be overkill, but we've got a couple of not unique situations, but some situations that aren't desirable, both at the top of the basin. That collection point's in a sag, and then at the bottom of the basin, at the street crossing, which is actually this right here is the street crossing, and this is the outlet through the yard to the end. Both this point and the top is in a sag, so it's that bowl that has to fill up with water before it has a spot to overflow and get out. And unfortunately, those overflows are through yards. So one of the best solutions, not necessarily the best economical solution, but the best solution to prevent damage is to oversize the underground system and just give it a way to convey downstream underground. Something else that would have to be done to help resolve and alleviate some of the flooding issues is up on this top end. Let's see if I can get back to it. Right here. The 6 acres. Well, that 6 acres, is, like I said, is trying to get into basically one drop inlet because it's jumping a street in quite a bit of water. So at this top end, the storm drainage would need to be extended. Need to run some pipes and inlets up to the cul-de-sac and also up north to this other intersection. That would help collect the water, get it underground instead of running down the street and inundating that inlet and trying to go through those yards. I did run a preliminary estimate. Again, I put this together pretty quick. And again, the estimate is just that. It's an estimate of the construction cost. I do not have exact numbers on, fence replacement, the exact length of pipe, or maybe even the exact size of the pipe. We did not do a detailed survey. This was just, hey, let's collect some data, and I didn't want to start a design without trying to quantify the problem and see if there was a reasonable solution. I think there's a reasonable solution, and we definitely, I think, found the problem, quantified the problem. So you have the estimate. I believe it was handed out to you for the work, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So is this, Morgan, is this going to be pretty much the cost, what you've got written down here at the bottom?
That is a preliminary cost without a detailed design. Until there's a detailed design,
We won't know.
I couldn't give you a, hey, this is what it's going to cost.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty comfortable. I think this is a reasonable budget for the project. I've got the numbers maybe a little high and the fees high, but I'd rather give you something that is a little high than later it being quite a bit more. So that's about what I think it would cost.
Mayor, do you need a motion for this?
Hold on just a second, Mr. White. Morgan, can I ask you a question about your map here?
Yes.
Could you pull that back up?
They're going to switch it over.
Yeah, do you?
Yeah, they have to switch it over. I've got it up on here. Okay.
You made a reference, I believe, up Tulsa, that the water dumped into the open ditch.
Right here.
Right,
Yes. Yes.
So if we improve this underground structure, in theory, it's going to dump more water into that open ditch.
Yes, and this project, the estimate you have in front of you, allows for improvements to that ditch that would convey that water all the way to the 36-inch pipe that is currently being constructed.
So I think one of, not to overcomplicate this, but one of our sticking points for the last few months in talking about drainage in this area has been a lack of an easement in that open ditch.
Yes.
So will you obtain the easement or whatever is needed? Would that be part of this project in theory?
It would have to be part of the project too, because the thought there, instead of putting a pipe there, you're still going to have inlets for those yards to drain into. If we can achieve that with an open ditch, we'll have more capacity, and in the event of a large storm, more storage. So if we can put a little ditch paving in the bottom of that ditch and make it a little larger by obtaining easements from the property owners, that'd probably be the best solution, and actually provide for better drainage when that property is developed.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So that flooding area, I think I have my street straight here. Is it when the ditch hits the other street where they had a filter thing there to catch leaves, and that was already clogged up when I was there? Will that all be underground at that point, and it'll just go right on through there and connect on over to where the new project's been done right now? Is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
So it'll take all that Seattle, where they're in that bowl down there, that'll take that water out of their yards and off their driveways and into their homes?
Yes, ma'am. And, it would be at a cost of making the pipes larger.
Right.
But with that being in a SAG, and doing a minimum design for a 10-year storm, I think you'd see some regular overtopping going through those yards. So in that situation, it'd be better to design it for a larger storm event.
Mayor, you need a motion for us to?
I'm fixing to. Any other questions? No. So, Mr. Barrett, at this time, what do we need to give you? The 27,526 for engineering and 6476?
No, this.
And then.
No, this, again, these were just estimates for y'all to consider. If y'all want to move forward with it, I mean, you have to select an engineer and then
I think,
I think we just did that.
That's my motion was going to be for you to sign a professional, whatever contract with Morgan.
The money is budgeted.
With
It's in the
Barrett
drainage
Associates
budget.
to get this.
We can fix this problem for $350,000.
Give you the authority to.
That's less than 1 month's, that's less than January's sales tax collections for the streets and drainage sales tax.
Yeah.
And this is a tough project. Going through a developed area.
Are you saying you're not going to do it?
No, ma'am. I did not say that.
Okay.
You know,
He's not gonna build it.
You're going through people's yards. You're tearing down their fences.
Right.
You're having to work you're tearing out driveways. There's quite a few driveways that would have to be torn out. There's existing utilities.
Right.
And there's something that's going to get broke.
I think
mean,
that
someone's going to be
neighborhood's
out of
ready for
water,
it, though.
someone's going to be
Oh,
out of
they're ready
cable.
for
It's going to happen. It's just it's a difficult project, and hopefully the utilities will accommodate the larger pipe sizes without a great deal. But that's on the design side to be taken care of. But it's going to be an inconvenience for the neighborhood just with that type of construction going on.
But it was solved.
Mayor?
problem.
Make a motion, we give you the authority to hire Morgan to do this
Second.
job.
Second,
Third,
third,
That
Anything.
seconded, Mr. Tripp,
Ms. Caruth.
yes.
Ms. Caruth.
She beat me.
All right, so the motion is Mr. Wiley, the second is Ms. Caruth. Okay, Mr. Barrett?
All right, thank you.
Wait a minute. I guess we ought to vote and make it
I
official.
don't-
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? If you'll get us a contract together, let's get started. Okay. Ms. Hinkle, I asked her to wait just a minute to discuss this. We talked to Mr. Barrett this week to come up with the idea of doing this on a contract basis. I have not talked to Kurt Jones yet, but he's had quite a few discussions with Ms. Hinkle and with Scott Mullis from Highway Department. I would like to get him to do us an estimate for a engineering contract to take care of the O Street problem. If I understood the last communication, the university is on board with talking about the proposal to go around the trees and eventually end up there in the pasture. I think you stated that you would prefer that it be enclosed, and so we've got to work that part out, but I'd like to see us go ahead. If we're going to fix it, let's fix it. So I would like, I guess at this point, just a show of support from the
That's
council.
your call.
So
Mayor.
authorization to do the same type of contract for design.
Negotiate a
on that
contract with Kurt to do the design
Yes.
work and negotiate with
Second.
RDOT and with the university. All right, so there's a motion from Mr. Tripp and a second from Mr.
I think it was
Who-
Ms.
I
Caruth.
think
actually.
everybody.
I was just clarifying. I didn't make the motion. I was just
Second,
clarifying.
Mr. Wiley. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so let's talk about one more drainage thing.
One more.
Mr. Peel, do you want to introduce this? Mr. Barrett, do
Mayor?
you want to do it, or,
Mayor,
Mayor?
sorry.
I'm sorry?
You missed this. He had a question he wanted
I had
to
a
ask.
question.
He really did.
What you got?
We're just wanting to make sure that our cattle pastures out there.
Unless you're,
He won't bother
Unless
the
you're-
cattle pastures.
We're not gonna lose any pasture out there.
No,
no.
ain't gonna
That's-
lose
Be
nothing.
sure and tell Dr. Rady that I spoke up on that.
Unless your cows use excavators, they should never know these pipes are there. And I know, they're university cows, so I know they're extremely intelligent.
We are losing pasture every time we turn around. That's.
All right.
Catch 20.
Now, here's a new one that some of you know about, some of you don't.
Yes.
Mr. Peel, you want to introduce this, or,
Yes.
okay.
I'm here on behalf of the Lawson family and Luxury Pool and Spa. As you're probably aware, there's downtown flooding issues. I tried to email to everybody pictures of the recent flooding from this August, and I have multiple additional copies that he's going to hand out to you so that you can review. That's during a flood event in August of 2017 when the intersection there at Highway 64 and 7 was inundated by water. There was dramatic overtopping, had water intrusion in the luxury pool and spa property, et cetera. I became involved right after that in September of 17 when the CVS construction commenced and the Lawson family was concerned about how that was going to impact, maybe exacerbate the existing flooding that was ongoing. I called Public Works. We were not able to get anything resolved or an adequate response, so I got a hold of Morgan, and we sent letters to both CVS and to Public Works. CVS eventually responded, and they have pledged significant additional capital expenditures over and above their initial budgeted amount for this project to help resolve some of the drainage issues that are ongoing down there. They can't obviously take on a project that exceeds the scope of the property they've acquired, and they're not necessarily willing to resolve the problem in its entirety down there. But with that private investment and with the state of the construction at this time, the city has a short-term opportunity to get the entire problem resolved at a much reduced cost. In other words, if we do it right now while it's just dirt and there's an open trench, it is going to cost 25% of what it's going to be if we wait until the trench is filled in, it's black-topped, you got a drive-through in there, you got business interruption costs and harm to all the businesses in the area. As we've gone through this process, I've learned a lot, and Morgan's here to talk about it if you have questions, but he proposes essentially a connector between the two sections that CVS has already designed, and that would be the city's only expense. It would get it out from under the luxury pool and spa building. It would significantly increase the capacity, and it's the collection point, if y'all go down there, for drainage coming from the west as far as the courthouse and over, from the east as far as 2 blocks over, and then something like 4 blocks to the south. All the water congregates there, and then it runs under a water trestle under the railroad tracks. So this will increase the capacity and prevent a lot of the overtopping that's coming down the road. And it's also the downstream point so that if we eventually, as a city, in a 5-year drainage plan, can start working back upstream, it's just a logical place to start. You've about exhausted the extent of my engineering skills, and so I'm going to take questions and defer you to both Shane Lawson, who's here, and to Morgan.
Morgan, what size pipe you want to put in?
There hasn't been a design run. I believe CVS's proposal is replaced approximately what was there.
Mr. Barrett, can we get you to step to the microphone? And I've been notified that the sound is kind of poor tonight, so if everybody would make a special effort to talk directly into the mic so we can get your comments on record.
Sure. This, we've worked in this area several times in the past. A lot of these old structures under the town were, what I was told, built by CCC back in the 20s and 30s, and they stacked rock and have, some of them have concrete tops, some of them don't. We've done work up by the post office on this same channel, but this drainage basin actually extends all the way to 19th Street. So you're talking from, this point 19 blocks south. It goes through what used to be John's Cleaners, Jackamore Sheet Metal, and runs all the way up the west side of Arkansas. This area collapsed, I think, in the mid-90s, probably 96, and then again, Highway 7 collapsed. It's the same channel. Some portions have been repaired and replaced. Like I said, over by the post office, we did a section there on 2nd Street, and actually it was under one of the houses there on the corner. I believe it was a law office at the time. But it's in poor shape. There hasn't been a design for this other than what CVS has done as far as replacing what was there to try to maintain the integrity of that existing structure, and also maintain a flow path for, like I talked about, the bowl that fills up. This is a similar situation. It would fill up here and run between the old, was it One Main Place? Yeah. One Main Place and Luxury Pool and Spa. That parking lot was there. CVS's plans were to fill that in, and once somebody became aware of this, that they modified their plans when it was brought to their attention by Mr. Peel. So right now, it would just be replaced up to Luxury Pool and Spa, and then it's actually picked up again where it comes out of the north side of the building. It is in poor shape. I believe Mr. Lawson intends on shoring that up and replacing, or actually trying to pour some concrete under there, which is going to reduce that channel, which would exacerbate the flooding problem on Main Street. And like Mr. Peel said, now's the best time to do it. It's just a matter of who's going to do it. So.
And the cheapest way to do it.
Yeah. And
thank you.
so, but no, I said a lot for asking what size pipe, didn't I? Yeah, that's all you asked. But I don't know. We don't have a design. I don't think it can be designed large enough to accommodate a very large storm at all. Because right now, according to CVS's numbers, it's designed for a 2% storm. That's the capacity at this time.
Mr. Barrett, I know you said that you don't have any plans drawn up or anything like that. Can you guesstimate what that project would cost the city? Not going to hold you to it, but can you guesstimate?
The thing that scares me about guesstimating on something like this is a time frame. I know CVS is in a hurry, and anytime you put a rapid turnaround on a construction project, it gets expensive. If it was just a normal project and it's just a 80-foot long culvert, and again, I don't know the utility details in there, a 80-foot culvert that's 4 by 12, I mean, I think you're in the $80,000 range for that length.
Okay.
This one, I don't know. I don't know the size. I don't know the complexity. I don't know the utility complex.
I've got one more question. Mr. Mayor, if I got our finance director's figures correct, we have $11,319,741 in the Streets and Drainage Fund as of this evening. What do you need from us for us to get moving forward on this project?
Can I ask a question on top of your question?
Certainly.
Well, let's cap it at $10 million now.
Well, you already have $200,000 budgeted for drainage projects this year.
Correct.
Mr. Barrett, I've got one question for you. Now, if the city undertakes this...
Wait. Let's go one at a time, because y'all are getting me out of line here.
So if we already have $200,000 budgeted, and we've spent a little bit of that, but I'm gonna think less than 75.
I was
You
thinking
need
it
a,
was 500, I thought. But go ahead. That's
whether it
the
be
point.
2 or
Yeah,
5.
whatever you're doing.
We already have the money budgeted unless it's gonna exceed what's in that. We can come back and add to that at a later meeting.
Yes.
So that's why I wanted to put that. So at this point, do we just need to authorize an agreement with Barrett and Associates like we did a while ago? And then if it's within the budget, if we're gonna make a motion, that's why I'm saying this, whoever's gonna make the motion, if it's gonna need a special called meeting, let's do it as soon as the numbers are ready, if that's needed to move this forward.
Is this something that you want to engineer, or should CVS's engineers, because it's theirs? I mean, we're going to have their cooperation, or this thing.
Absolutely, and that was.
And they seemed the other day. They seemed willing to help.
Yeah.
So what do you?
I did raise that question. There's been a lot of correspondence and communications, and I actually suggested the same thing. The response I got was they weren't interested in doing that. I believe there's a CVS representative here, and it probably has to do with liability. So I'll let him speak to that. But it was suggested to them that their engineers, take on that design.
Would you do it?
Is that you? If you don't mind, would you come to this mic? I hear the batteries are not working in that microphone. So state your name so we can get you on the record.
My name is Josh Knott. I'm with Bose Development. We're the developer for CVS for this project. So as Mr. Barrett mentioned, they reached out about a day or two ago and posed that as an option if our engineer would design perhaps another replacement. And for the same reasons that they mentioned, we're not comfortable with that. So they've done our design, which is to replace that box culvert already. Right. And we're actually well under construction, which everybody's probably seen. We poured the concrete this past day, so the base of it's already in place also.
So if we got somebody else to do the design and engineering on it, is it reasonable to expect cooperation on a right-of-way? We're going to need an easement, a right-of-way, or something, as long as we respect we don't want to hold up your project. But the discussion we had a couple of weeks ago seemed to indicate that if we get on it, there's time to do this. Is that a fair?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'll have to defer specifically to CVS corporate to review that. As you mentioned, right away, it's a potential for a big easement going down the drive-through lane of that property. There's already a sewer main in there, so it's going to take time for them to review whatever is proposed. In the meantime, they want to keep going with construction under the permit.
I'll make a motion if that's what you need to do a professional service agreement with Morgan, with Barrett and Associates, to just initiate this and get it moving, since time is of the essence. And
Second.
if a follow-up meeting is needed, special call meeting is needed to
Get it
approve or appropriate, then so be it, but I think the money is already there.
Did you want to add something, Mr. Barrett?
Get it done.
The progress of CVS is going to complicate and increase the cost. I mean, if I know they want to move forward, but ideally nothing else would happen until this was bid and we could tie everything together. And it sounds like we didn't get a straight answer on the easement, if they're going to be willing to provide that easement. So I hate to do a lot of work and send a bill if it's not going to result in what we want at this time. I think it's going to have to, there's going to have to be some agreements between the city and CVS that I'm not a party to. So, I mean, I can't solve it.
Can you facilitate those discussions?
So our city attorney or I could prepare a stormwater drainage agreement for CVS's consideration. The city has the right to use its power of eminent domain to make this happen if it needs to. I would also be happy to facilitate or work with Trey to get CVS's attorney, who I've already been corresponding with in Atlanta, to review it. We hate that we're here at the last minute. We have been discussing this matter with Public Works since August, and we have been trying to get the project moving forward since then, and it just didn't happen. So we are here as quickly as we can, and we appreciate y'all's willingness to deal with the problem as it now stands. But yes, we can enter, if Morgan is willing to accept a personal services agreement, I'm happy to facilitate with Trey and get a stormwater drainage easement agreement prepared and or assist with anything else the city might need.
I think we need to go ahead.
We have a motion and a second.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else we need to know, Mr. Smith? Can you
Just
fill us
that-
in on the,
Just that until the easement's acquired, it's prohibited to use public funds for private improvement or private property. So that's going to be the deciding factor in this.
If I
So-
understand, go ahead, I'm sorry, Mayor.
no, go ahead.
That can't, I mean, that's an eventuality. It's just a question of whether it's through an eminent domain process or through a stormwater easement agreement. And I can't imagine it being anything but an agreement, because everybody knows that's the eventuality.
Well, I think the council needs to make a decision on whether or not eminent domain would need to be filed before I file something like that.
But we can have a follow-up meeting if needed.
Oh, definitely. Sure.
A special
All
call.
right, so I heard the M word. Who had a motion? Restate it.
Agree, or motion to let you enter into a professional service agreement with Barrett and Associates to
Hold on.
to
Are we
facilitate
getting this down?
and initiate this design and/or agreement, easements, et cetera, that needs to be in place. And then if we need to have a special call meeting to appropriate or approve any funds or bids or anything, so be it, but just don't let days pass without action being taken, so that we can take advantage of this opportunity.
There's money right now, we go over that amount.
Mayor,
Oh,
Bill
Ms.
had a
Carew?
question.
Yeah, I'm coming back to him. Did you
Just
have
didn't
one?
want you to forget him.
Did you have one? All right, so
No.
we've got a motion, and we've got a second. Mr. Straight, what were you thinking down there?
Oh, I was just gonna ask Mr. Barrett, I mean, if the city undertakes this and we make this improvement, I mean, this is not just helping two private landowners here. This is gonna add some benefit to our overall drainage system in that area, is it not?
Yes, sir. It's, like I said, this is, I'm trying to think of a metaphor, but I don't have a good one. But it's collecting water all the way, like I said, from 19th Street. I mean, it's being used by the public indirectly. It's not a roadway or street, but it's a public drainage facility. And
If you're a resident of Russellville, you're aware of the severe drainage in that area. I mean, water stands there when it rains.
yeah, the problem is this isn't going to be a solution. I mean, it's going to improve it, but it's not going to solve the problem. Just the size of the drainage necessary, you just can't get it in there. Just because, like I said, the current drainage pipe is sized for a 2% storm. In the subdivisions, like we discussed earlier, we're designing those for a 10% storm. So there's still going to be a problem. What it is doing is going to keep it from getting worse. So.
Now, are we discussing abandoning what's there now, or are we talking about adding a parallel structure?
I think what we're talking about is abandoning what's in place and paralleling it. At least
I'll leave that up to your judgment.
That's my understanding.
Okay. So does everybody understand the motion?
Yeah.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion is approved. Where does that bring us now?
Special use permit for the gas station.
Special use permit.
Motion.
No, you're.
Number 2.
Yeah, we're still on number 2, the Public Works Capital Improvement
Oh,
Plan.
I thought we was through with that.
Well, we're not yet, but there was some discussion this morning at technical review that might change what the council, how the council wants to prioritize some of these projects. And you're talking about a complex plan that I think we dropped in your box Tuesday night. So we can hash it out here tonight, or I would be happy to participate in a special meeting sometime at everybody's leisure. Mr. Straight, I'm sure, would like to have a little more in-depth discussion on it. So,
Yeah.
Yes, I'll do
so
it.
did I hear you make a motion, Mr. Westcott?
Yes,
to
I did.
Second.
Schedule a meeting before the
At
next
our-
regular council meeting for sure.
Correct.
Second.
And a second, Mr. Tripp. All in favor of tabling and setting up a special meeting to really dive into this, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll do a special use permit for,
Are you going to give us the changes or what's been proposed or some things coming up?
we'll actually know Monday night.
Okay.
Whether this stuff is on there, but how high the priority might be.
Change it,
Yeah.
not change.
Is
Planning-
Monday,
planning-
Monday night planning
planning
commission or a
commission.
week from Monday?
Correct.
It's a week from Monday.
Is it Monday or, no, it'd have to be a week from, because Monday's a
week.
holiday, baby.
Monday week.
Yeah, okay.
I hope hope you all have my
It's the fourth
President's
Monday.
Day
Got it.
present ready.
But
Yeah,
Yeah.
Monday week.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms.
Okay,
Harris.
thank you.
you've got a motion and a second on number 3.
All right, we've got a motion and a second on number 3. What was that motion? I think we were
Motion
still
to adopt.
discussing other stuff.
Second.
Okay, motion to adopt.
Their
Second.
special use permit.
All right,
We've
and the
been through it,
second,
everybody knows what it is.
all right, so the motion was Wiley, second was
Brown.
Mr. Tripp.
Brown.
Any discussion? This is the Casey's station. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 3 is approved. Number 4 is a zoning code amendment. This is a special use permit also for a wholesale feed and seed store
Oh, yeah,
on
that's
South
right.
Arkansas. Applicant is here tonight if anybody wants to ask questions.
Motion.
Second.
So we got a motion, Mr. Wiley, second, Mr. Westcott. Boy, it was close. I mean, it was close. Any other discussion on this?
When they gonna get started?
When are you gonna get started? In the morning? Y'all already started it. You just need this to make. Yeah, they're ready to go. They've got to beat the feed and seed season. So, any other questions? We got a motion and a second to adopt. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's approved. None of those were ordinance, were they? I would entertain
Yeah,
one
wha-
more.
wha- wha- Before you do that, on that special,
Hold it.
on the special meeting about the 5-year plan, Is it something that we need to wait until after the planning commission meeting to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, the reason that I ask is that if we don't do it the week of planning commission, then the following week is the finance meeting.
Agenda meeting, but it could be that week too.
So we might consider the last week of the month. Tuesday night is civil service on the 27th, so we've got Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday.
why don't we coordinate it, we'll shoot something out. Everybody send us your input on what night works for you after Monday, was 26th?
Monday the 26th, yeah.
After Monday the 26th, but as soon after as possible, we'd like to dive into the 5-year plan. Is that right? And then we'll send out a notice and notify the media and all that. It's good?
Well, I'll be here Tuesday for the planning, or the civil service deal. That normally lasts, what, 20 minutes, 30 minutes?
It's up to you.
Could we tentatively say Tuesday the 27th?
I think so.
Civil service is
I don't
at
know of anything
5,
going on there.
maybe 5:30.
I'll look at the city calendars and see if we're going to be getting on anybody's feet. We can aim for that.
Okay.
6 o'clock.
27th?
27th, Tuesday the 27th is what we're going to work on. If anybody has a conflict with that, be sure and let me know tomorrow.
Can we have the estimates? Can we have the estimates on the Arkansas Tech Public Works swap?
I believe we could, yeah. Shouldn't take long.
Might as well make it all work.
Okay. Anything else? You in a hurry?
Yeah.
Is your tuna fish getting cold?
No.
Mine is. We're adjourned.